everyone. Welcome to Southern Gal True Crime. It's good to have you here today. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to watch this video. I share missing persons, cold cases, current true crime in the news, and more. So if that is things that you are interested in, please consider subscribing while you're here. Like, share, comment, hit the notification bell so you get notifications of when I upload new videos or go live. Check out my playlist. It has all the cases that I have covered here so far. All these things that you do help small channels like mine to reach more people. And that is the whole goal, purpose of my channel, is to bring awareness to these cold cases and missing persons, to get the word out to as many people as possible, so that they are never forgotten. That is the mantra of my channel, is never forget. Always keeping these victims and their families in the spotlight. So hopefully we could do a little part here to maybe help bring some resolution to these cases, or more importantly, like I said, just bring awareness. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group also called Southern Gal True Crime. So you can just go to Facebook, just search Southern Gal True Crime, and it will pop up. I post things there that I don't put here on YouTube. Stories, of course, related to true crime that I find interesting, little articles and facts and things like that. So definitely go check that out. So we will get into, today is our Missing Person Monday episode, and this is the first Missing Person Monday episode of 2024. So we all made it to a new year. I hope everybody had a good new year, and hopefully 2024 will be good. So before we get into the cases, I have 5 cold cases tonight. They do have a theme, and we will get into what the theme of each of the cases are. But first, make it full screen so I can see what I'm doing. At the beginning of all my videos and my live streams, I always feature a current missing person. And this information comes from the Morgan Nick Foundation Facebook page, and I will put a link to it in the description box. So I urge you, please share it anywhere, everywhere you can, and friends, family, any true crime groups you're in. It's very important to get this information out. Tonight's missing is a Freddie Montoya. He went missing from Rogers, Arkansas on November 26th of this past year, 2023. He is a 44-year-old Hispanic male, 5'8", 150 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Now, he has not had contact with his daughter for over a month. And when I was checking some comments earlier, when I snagged this from the Facebook page, both his daughter and his mother had commented that neither one of them have heard from them in over a month. His place of employment has not heard from him in over a month, and they said that is very unusual for him to be out of contact with his work, not showing up to work, not being in contact with any of his family members for this long. Of course, they're desperately looking for him, worried about him. So if you're in the Arkansas area, if you have any information regarding Freddie's whereabouts or anything, if you may have seen him, please contact the Rogers Police Department at 479-636-4141. So that was tonight's featured current missing person. So like I said, I will link it in the link to the post from the Facebook page in the comment section and the description box. So please share it. It'll be very much appreciated. All right, now we will get to our 5 cold cases. And as you can see, the theme is arrest and acquittals. In all these 5 cases, a person has either been arrested, acquitted, or both, but the victim The missing person has not been found. They have not been found alive. They have not been found deceased. They are still nowhere to be seen. So it is still important to get these stories out there, just in case somebody has any information about any of these cases. So our first missing is Peggy Dianovsky. I hope I'm saying that right. She went missing on September 12th, 1982 from Schaumburg, Illinois. She was 28 years old when she went missing, so she would be 69 years old today. She was 5'8", 125 pounds. She was last seen a white sweater, a beige blouse, blue jeans, and a gold wedding ring with a diamond solitaire. She had brown hair, brown eyes. It says she had a birthmark on her right buttock, and she wore glasses. So she was last seen at her home in Schaumburg, Illinois, on September 12th, 1982. She shared the residence with her husband, Robert Dianovsky Sr., and their 3 young sons. Did not give any information on how old the children were when she disappeared. And apparently, Peggy and her husband, Robert, were involved in a contentious divorce and custody battle in September of 1982, which is the month she disappeared in. Both sides had apparently accused each other of infidelity, and they often had violent quarrels. And to me, the violent quarrels is the key, one of the important factors in this case. It did not say, and all this information comes from the Charley Project. It did not say if there had been a history of DV in the relationship, but just with the mentioning of violent quarrels, I would just assume there may have been a sad situation regardless. So, of course, Robert, his story was that Peggy left home voluntarily of her own accord. And all she took with her, he said, according to him, was a bag of clothing when she vanished. He did report her missing 5 days later. She left her yellow Chevy Nova car behind. She never picked up her last paycheck from her employer, which was Dominic's. I don't know if that's a restaurant or what it is. But to me, this is the first red flag in this case. If she was going to leave of her own accord, as her husband Robert claims, why did she not leave in her car? Or another possibility, if she left of her own accord and she had somebody come pick her up, why did her husband Robert not mention, hey, she packed a bag of clothes, somebody came and picked her up, and I've never seen her again? So to me, his story is a little sketchy. But let me know in your comments if you think the same or what your opinion is. Another big red flag, obviously, was blood was found spattered at the top of the stairway in their home, but none of it was ever collected to be analyzed. Now, this was 1982, so back then forensic DNA analysis was not what it is today in 2023. So probably about the only thing that would have been able to determine was the blood type, to see if it was the same blood type as Peggy's. So once again, Robert's story on where this blood came from was that at some point he had hit Peggy hard enough to make her bleed, and this was the source of the blood spatter that was found at the top of the stairway. So going back to, I was wondering if there was a history of DV in the relationship. Apparently, if this statement is true, then there was. Of course, he denied taking her life or having anything to do with her disappearance. That is per usual in these cases, unfortunately. Uh, Robert eventually moved to Arizona sometime after 1982. He remarried. Now, in 2003, he was charged with Peggy's homicide. Apparently, there are three sons, and it doesn't give the age of the sons when they went to the police. The three sons went to the police in 2002 after they tape recorded a conversation with their father, Robert, where he made what they called suspicious statements about Peggy's disappearance. So there are lots of red flags in this case, obviously. One of the children, one of the boys, claims that he witnessed his mother's homicide. And all three of the boys say that they saw Robert DV occur between Robert and their mother. They also claim that they repress these memories of these alleged incidents and recover them in therapy sessions as adults. So we've all heard of, they call it recovered memories or suppressed memories. From what I understand, the little bit I've read about it, they may be putting them under some kind of hypnosis to bring the memories to the surface. So we'll take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying, obviously, that the children are lying, but this is just what they alleged. But we also have one of Robert's friends testified that Robert asked him for a firearm in 1982 to, quote, get rid of Peggy. So that is one of the biggest red flags in this case, in my opinion, but feel free to let me know in the comments what you guys think out there. So he was charged. The trial took place. It was not a jury trial. It took place before a judge. The judge acquitted Robert after 8 days in November of 2004. He stated, although he did state that he believed, in his opinion, that probably Peggy had, in fact, her life had been taken after her disappearance, but unfortunately there was not enough evidence to prove that Robert did it. So, obviously, Peggy has never been located. Obviously, once again, foul play is suspected. Just feel so, as in all these cases, feel so sad for the family, for the three boys that lost their mother, who have no answers as of 2023. So if you have any information regarding this case, you can contact the Schaumburg Police Department at 847-882-3586. All right, the next missing person we have is Tammy Jean Daniel. She went missing on June 2nd, 1987 from Stanford, West Virginia. She was 24 years old at the time she disappeared, so if she were alive today, she would be 61. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'7", 130 pounds. She was last seen wearing a black t-shirt, a black leather jacket, and blue jeans. She had light brown hair, blue eyes. Her maiden name was Hansel, and she did have a splenectomy scar on her abdomen. So that would be, it's always good. People, I get comments sometimes why I give all this information about scars and tattoos and whatnot when unfortunately the victim is most likely deceased, but it may help jog somebody's memory if they saw any of these people before they disappeared. Tattoos, of course, are very recognizable. Any kind of visible scarring is very recognizable. It would be just things that people would remember. So Tammy was last seen, her parent, on June 2nd, 1987. Her parents had dropped her off at her trailer home in Stanford, West Virginia at around 3 a.m. She lived there with her husband of 18 months, Ronald Jean Daniel. Well, apparently when her parents dropped her off. Ronald was asleep inside the house at the time, and the door was locked. So Tammy's mother, and I find this once again a clue key to this situation. Tammy's mother offered to knock on the window to wake Tammy's husband up so he could come let Tammy inside, but Tammy said no, that she would rather sleep in a tent that was in the front yard. So, just in my opinion, this would lead me to believe that she was afraid of her husband. So, once again, we could possibly, now, I don't know, I wasn't there. This is just my speculation and assumption. I would assume that there possibly could be some DV going on in this case, too. Because, I mean, why would you choose to sleep outside in your front yard in a tent? And this was in June in West Virginia. I don't know. I'm in Arkansas, so I don't know how cold or what the temperature or the weather conditions would have been in June in West Virginia. But regardless, I would rather knock on the door and have my husband let me in than choose to sleep in the tent. So that just, like I said, that leads me to the assumption that she may have been a little bit afraid or a lot afraid of her husband. So, against their better judgment, Tammy's parents left her there to sleep in the tent. But after they had driven a short distance, Tammy's mother, Norma, told Tammy's father to turn around and go back because she did not want to leave Tammy asleep in the yard. And I can totally understand that. As a parent, I would not want to leave my daughter sleeping in the tent in the front yard because maybe she was afraid to wake her husband up to go inside. So I'm assuming that they might have been going back to take Tammy back to their house to stay with them. That's what I would have done. But once again, and this is just an assumption, I don't know. But when they got there, they heard what sounded like a door closing. They looked around the yard. They didn't see Tammy, so they assumed that Tammy's husband, Gene, had woken up and let her in. So they left, and after that, they never saw her, and they never saw Tammy again. The next day, they went back to Tammy and Gene's home, their trailer, and Tammy was gone. Gene said that he had asked Tammy to leave and he did not know where she was. Now, if he gave any reason why to anybody, to police or to her parents, about why he asked Tammy to leave, it was never released publicly. So 4 days later, when no one had heard from Tammy, her parents reported her missing. So we come to Ronald G. Daniel, the main person of interest / suspect in this case. And once again, very big red flags. Apparently, on June 5th, which was 3 days after Tammy disappeared, he borrowed a vacuum cleaner from a neighbor. Now, according to the neighbor, when he brought the vacuum cleaner back, it had a foul smell and there was a sticky substance on it. So we can surmise or deduce what the foul-smelling sticky substance was. The police did take the vacuum for testing and determined it was blood-stained and the blood was Tammy's type. So once again, this is, I believe, from the 80s, if I remember correctly. So that's about the only thing they could figure out from that was blood type. Even more disturbing than that, when they searched Tammy and Gene's home, the trailer, they did find a stain on the bedroom carpet, possible blood stain on the carpet padding, and the floor underneath. So, this is very disturbing because, anyway, just for in general, there was blood, but apparently there was enough blood that it soaked through the carpet padding, into the floor underneath. So just for when I have read and videos I've watched, it takes a fair amount of of blood to soak all the way through a carpet, the padding, and into the floor underneath. So unfortunately, it is not a good sign for what may have happened to Tammy. So, of course, her husband has always maintained his innocence in Tammy's disappearance. His story was he thought she left on her own accord. In January of 1989, which was a little less than a year after Tammy disappeared, Gene was convicted of the homicide of another man in a July 1988 shooting. He did admit to this shooting, but claimed that it was self-defense at the trial. So take that with a grain of salt. He did serve a prison sentence, and he was released. In 1990, he was indicted for Tammy's homicide. Once again, unfortunately, the charges were dismissed for lack of evidence. Tammy has never been found, and foul play, obviously, again, is suspected, and in my opinion, most certain in her case, due to just the information given here about the bloodstained carpet. To me, is the biggest indicator that something very bad happened to Tammy. But in any case, if you have any information regarding this case, you can call the Raleigh County Sheriff's Office at 304-255-9300. Next, we have Marsha Ellen Brantley. Marsha went missing on May 15th, 2009 from Cleveland, Tennessee. She was 51 years old at the time she disappeared, so if she were alive today, she would be 64. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'8", 125 pounds. She had light brown hair, blue eyes. Her maiden name is Rader, and some accounts refer to her as Marsha Rader Brantley. She was last seen in Cleveland, Tennessee sometime, this says, in late May or early June of 2009. She lived with her husband of 9 years and 3 dogs in the Benwood division of Cleveland at the time of her disappearance. Her parents are deceased, and she had no children. A friend actually reported her missing in November of 2009 after months without contact. So once again, we have her spouse did not report her missing. It was a friend. When questioned by police, her husband, Donnie Ray Brantley, said that she had simply left him and that they were planning to get a divorce. So aside from the theme of arrest and acquittals, we have this theme of the spouse saying they just left, we're having problems, we're going to get a divorce. They packed the bag, they left, and never seen them again. So investigators did do a search of their home, but they did not find any evidence of any struggle, foul play, or anything of that nature. Prior to her disappearance, it says that Marsha enjoyed spending time in an RV that she owned in Townsend, Tennessee. And if you see here on the left side of the slide, at the bottom, you see Cleveland, and then the red pin is a Townsend. It's about a two-hour drive. Authorities were unable to find this RV until November of 2022, when it turned up on property owned by Donnie's family, Donnie being the husband. Donnie was arrested at that time and charged with hindering a creditor because authorities believed that he was hiding the vehicle to keep it from being repossessed. In this information from the Charley Project, it did not say if the RV was searched for any kind of evidence of foul play, or if they just took it or thought that he hid it, like they said here, to keep it from being repossessed. In August of 2013, Donnie was charged with Marsha's homicide. But once again, the theme of all these cases, the charges were dropped for lack of evidence in 2014. But again, in 2016, he was charged again with Marsha's homicide. But it was dropped again in February of 2018. But one good thing, it's bad that the charges were dropped, but it is good because the charges were dismissed without prejudice. Now, without prejudice means that Donnie could be charged a third time if they find any evidence, enough evidence to indict him again for Marsha's homicide. Now, I have to think because I always get this mixed up. If it had been dismissed with prejudice, that means that they would not have ever been able to charge him with this crime, even if they found, if I know correctly, and I'm not a lawyer, don't know for sure, but just from what I read, if it's dismissed with prejudice, he can never be tried or indicted for this particular crime ever again, no matter what. But so that's why I said it is good that it was dismissed without prejudice. So he could be charged or indicted if enough evidence is found by the prosecuting attorney or whoever is in charge of indicting people. So a little background on Marsha. She had previously worked for Lee University. She enjoyed hiking and other outdoor adventures and pursuits. It says she was an award-winning writer. I'll have to look that up and see what kind of writing she did. She did not have any children. Her parents had passed away in 2000. She was not close to any of her blood relatives. And it wasn't for several months that her aunt in North Carolina even found out that she had disappeared. So it did not give any explanation or anything about why she didn't have a close relationship with her family. Some families are just like that, and things happen. But at any rate, once again, she has not been found either alive or deceased. So if you have any information in this case, you can contact the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation at 800-824-3463. Right, now we have Jackie Lee Berry Jr. Jackie went missing on December 6th of 2008 from Terre Haute, Indiana. He is a white male, 33 years old at the time he disappeared. He was 5'10", 150 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. His nickname was JB. Many agencies referred to him as Jack Berry, and he had numerous tattoos all over his body. Now, in the Charley Project, they did have a picture of all his tattoos. I would not have been able to fit them on the slide. But needless to say, if you had seen Jackie, you would definitely notice all the tattoos, very distinct, very noticeable, and it would have stuck in your mind. He was last seen near 5th Avenue and Elizabeth Avenue in the White Oak Place subdivision in Terre Haute, Indiana, shortly after noon on December 16th, 2008, which is the day that he was last seen. This is near Park Avenue, where he had lived for 12 years prior to his disappearance. And the last time that he used his cell phone on that day was at 12:11 p.m. So apparently the year before, he had been placed on probation, and he was not allowed to have firearms in his home or in his possession. So he apparently had given 2 firearms to a friend, Brent P. England, to keep. And according to his father, he was on his way to this Brent England's home to collect the firearms when he disappeared. And after that, he was never seen again or heard from. A few days after his disappearance, his van was found parked near the Wabash River. Now you see on the slide on the left, I just did in that white circle, the blue there, the blue line is the Wabash River, and I just circled the Terre Haute area. So his van was somewhere in that area. He left behind a young son whom he was very close to. His loved ones said that don't believe that he would have abandoned his child. His family also said that he was well liked in the area and that he had recently taken over his father's painting business. So now this is according to family members. There could have been, because I watch other YouTube creators who are professionals, who are former law enforcement, cold case detectives. They always say, of course, the family, understandably, is going to say all the good things about their missing loved one. If you want to find out what really may have been going on in a person's life, you talk to their friends. So, I mean, I'm not saying that Jackie was involved in any shady dealings or anything, but he was on probation for whatever and was not supposed to have firearms. But regardless, I have no doubt that he did love his child and he probably was well liked in the area. But it just, you have to look at both sides of the coin. You have to look, of course, take into account what family says, but also take into account what friends and acquaintances say, because for the most part, that's going to be the real story. So in March of 2009, Brent England was arrested and charged with Jackie's homicide. Authorities stated that they found Jackie's blood spattered in England's home and pools of blood in the trunk of Brent's red Saturn sports car. So Brent England did admit that he saw Barry on the day of his disappearance. He had invited him into his home. He says that he told Jackie that he had pawned the firearms that Jackie was coming over to retrieve. He claims that he made arrangements to pay Jackie back for these firearms that he had pawned. And then after they made arrangements for payments, Jackie got into his car, and drove away. And that was the last time that, according to Brent England, he claims that's the last time that he saw Jackie. As for the pools of blood that were found in Brent's trunk of his car, his story was that apparently he and Jackie had been out turkey hunting together, and Barry had somehow hurt his leg when they were out turkey hunting, and that's how the blood got into the trunk of the car. Now, to me, this story does not make sense, but feel free to let me know in the comments what you think, what you guys think. If he had said that if they had found maybe a towel with Jackie's blood on it in the trunk of the car, I might could accept this Brent England's version of the story. But it said that there were pools of blood found in the trunk of the car. I mean, and even if he did hurt the leg turkey hunting, why would pools of blood be in the trunk of the car and not in, say, the passenger seat of the car? If I was out hunting with somebody and they hurt their leg and they were bleeding enough to make pools of blood, I wouldn't stick them in the trunk to take them to the hospital or to get help. I would put them in the back seat or the passenger seat. So to me, that's where the blood would be if this story that Brent England came up with was true. So that's why I'm having a hard time believing Mr. England's story. but you can make your own decisions. Uh, so, and this in Brent England was found not guilty at his trial in March of 2010. Now, this picture on the left is not Brent England. This is a different picture of Jackie. Authorities stated that the investigation into Jackie's disappearance would continue, and hopefully they can find enough evidence if this Brent England is the offender. Hopefully, at some point, they can find enough evidence to charge him again, because apparently this was another one that was dismissed without prejudice, which means that he can be tried again. Excuse me, he could be tried again if enough evidence is found to charge him. So some more background on Jackie. He graduated from North Vigo High School. His hobbies include paintball, doing bicycle tricks. Obviously, foul play is suspected. So if you have any information regarding Jackie, his disappearance, you can contact the Terre Haute Police Department at 812-244-2273. All right, now we have Christine Blackburn Wiles. Christine went missing on April 21st of 2007 from Bellevue, Florida. She's a white female. She was 39 years old at the time she disappeared. So if she were alive today, she would be 56. At the time she disappeared, she was 5'6", around 160 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes, and some accounts refer to her as Christine Wiles. So Christine was last seen in Bellevue, Florida around 1 a.m. on April 21st, 2007. She and her sister had gone to some bars that day. Billy Joe Ashton Sr., who, and I got to keep up because there's a lot of different players in this case. So Billy Joe Ashton Sr., who was Christine's boyfriend, had apparently been following them around while they were going to these bars. So at some point, Christine asked her sister to pull over. She got into Billy Joe Ashton's car, which was a 1995 Chrysler New Yorker. And they took off, and the friend that she was with didn't know where they went to. So Billy Joe Ashton, who is the boyfriend, later claimed that they had an argument and he dropped Christine off around the corner from where her estranged husband lived. So just to recap, Billy Joe Ashton apparently was the boyfriend, and then she had an estranged husband. So there's two possible offenders or persons of interest, in my opinion, in this case. Of course, her estranged husband denied having seen her, and after she was seen with this her boyfriend, Billy Joe Ashton. He claimed he dropped her off, and she was never seen or heard from again. Now, her family initially thought that she had gone to Texas. Don't know why. Maybe she had connections to Texas. Maybe they had family members in Texas. But at any rate, she was reported missing in early May after she failed to get in touch with her daughter on her daughter's 16th birthday. They do say that Christine did have a drinking problem, but that it was very uncharacteristic of her not to contact her child, her daughter. On July 24th, the vehicle that Christine was last seen in, which was the Chrysler that belonged to the boyfriend, Billy Joe Ashton, was found at Wildcat Lake in Lake County, Florida, near the home of one of Billy Joe Ashton's relatives. Once again, another common theme running through these cases. Her blood was found in the trunk of this car. A witness told police that Billie Joe Ashton had burned some items from the trunk of this car, and this is the actual car that you see pictured on the left side of the slide. So investigators went to the spot of where these items were burned. They dug it up. They did find fragments of clothing, including buttons from a pair of Faded Glory blue jeans, which apparently were the style brand of blue jeans that Christine often wore. So, good evidence there. So, this is Billie Joe Ashton here on the left. He was incarcerated shortly after Christine's disappearance. Some of her, and wherever he was incarcerated at, apparently some of her missing persons posters were displayed in the jail, and he tore them down. Now, I have come across this action behavior before. The Clashendra Hall case from Arkansas. One of the top suspects in that case had apparently allegedly gone down through the neighborhood and tore down missing persons posters of Clashendra. So I don't know if this is an action of a person who feels guilt or remorse, or just does not want to be reminded of what they allegedly may have done. But like I said, that just, as soon as I read this about tearing down the missing person posters, it immediately brought to mind the Clashendra Hall case. And you can find that case. I urge you to watch that case. It is an Arkansas case. You can find it in my playlist under the Unsolved Cold Case section. And I think actually I have a separate playlist just for Clashendra Hall. So you can find it in either one of those playlists. But back to this case. So he tore down the missing persons posters, and he reportedly told an informant at the jail that he had elbowed Christine in the face and knocked her out, and he wiped up her blood with a towel, which he put in the trunk. So that is his explanation for how her blood got in the trunk of his car. But he also allegedly stated, that he had, quote, gotten rid of Christine. So these offenders, because you hear this a lot in other cases, they're arrested, they're in jail, and they just can't keep their mouth shut, which is a good thing for getting evidence or possible confessions or evidence to use in trial if they are taken to trial. So it's a good thing that these alleged offenders can't keep their mouth shut. So Mr. Ashton did have a history of violent behavior. He served 6 years in prison for kidnapping and assaulting another girlfriend in 1998. And in June of 2010, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison for possession of a firearm by a habitual offender. And then less than 24 hours after that, he was charged with second degree in Christine's case. But we know there's a theme to all these cases. So unfortunately, once again, authorities stated that the evidence against him was largely circumstantial and included tips from informants, DNA analysis, and witness statements. However, in February of 2013, the case against him was dropped due to insufficient proof, insufficient evidence. But one good thing, it says that charges may be refiled again against Billie Joe Ashton if more evidence surfaces. And he is still, as of 2023, still incarcerated for the weapons charge. So if you have any information about Christine's case, please call the Marion County Sheriff's Office at 352-368-6845. All right, guys, those were our 5 missing persons cold cases for the night. Like I said, all these unfortunately had themes of arrest and acquittals due to insufficient evidence. But hopefully in these cases, they can, if the people that were arrested and or acquitted, if they are the offenders in these cases, hopefully at some point they can find enough evidence to refile charges against any of these offenders. All right, so that was like I said, that was our Missing Person Monday episode. I will be back, I think, Saturday. I'm going to do a live stream for our case of the week. There have been some developments in the Amir Ellis case from here in Arkansas. And I just want to, I've done several videos on Amir's case. Like I said, being local to me, it has become dear to my heart. I've been following it since the beginning, when it was first reported on the news that Amir had been abducted. Also have a playlist for Amir. You can find it in my playlist section. So please check it out. So Saturday, I will probably do a live stream just to do a recap, give the timeline, all the information that's available in the case, which is not a whole lot because there is a gag order on the case, and all the new developments that have come out in the last month or so. So until then, please take care of yourselves. Be careful out there. Take care of each other. That's the most important thing we can do. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.